In this video, I'll be showing you how to plan a backpacking trip. So whether you are a complete beginner looking to get out for the first time or you are an experienced backpacker, I'll show you how to plan to have a safe and enjoyable trip. First step is choosing your destination. Things you're going to want to consider are the length of the trip, the difficulty of the terrain, and the scenery you want to see. Now, one thing that a lot of people do on their first trip is they plan something really ambitious. Maybe you want to go to Yellowstone or Yosemite and get out and really get away from the crowds. And that's a great trip. But for a first trip, I might suggest something a bit closer. Maybe you have a state park nearby that you can access relatively easily that has backcountry camping you can plan on doing instead. That way it's a little easier to bail out if you have to, if something goes terribly wrong. You're not stuck with this dream 5-day trip to Yosemite that you can't bear to lose. You can do some research online, you can ask friends, you can ask around a little bit, but one thing that I recommend is just seeing what your state park system has to offer in your area. Number 2 is assembling your gear. Backpacking requires specialized gear, and maybe you don't have all of that gear yet, and that's okay. There are a few things you can do. One is to buy it, one is to borrow it, and one is to rent it. Things you're going to need are obviously a backpack, a sleep system, a sleeping bag, sleeping pad, and pillow. You're going to need a shelter, probably a tent if it's your first time going out. And you're going to need some cooking equipment or some kitchen equipment depending on how you want to eat. If you're just starting out, as I said, you may want to consider renting or borrowing this equipment. I know I used to get that comment a lot when I was planning my first backpacking trips, and I'm like, borrow from whom? You don't have anybody. But if you go to your local outfitter, they'll usually be able to rent you a pretty decent package for some reasonable money. So start there, and they may be able to give you resources if they don't have what you need. Once you've chosen your destination and gathered all of your gear, the next thing you're going to want to do is plan your route. Consider factors such as the distance you're comfortable traveling, if there are any campsites you want to hit, areas you want to camp at, the availability of water, your fitness level, and the terrain. It's a pretty good idea to make an itinerary of your trip also with some planned stopping points that you can share with loved ones. That way if something does go wrong, they have a point of reference. Next, it's time to pack your backpack. For your first trip, you're probably going to be using an internal frame backpack. With this kind of backpack, you typically want to be packing your heaviest things, that is your tent and your sleeping bag, toward the bottom of your pack and as close to the center of your back as possible. Next, you're going to want to pack your clothing and any smaller items. You can build those around your tent inside of the pack to hold everything in place. And you're going to want to make sure that you leave a little bit of room in your pack for anything that you have to pick up along the way, like food or water. For your first trip, you're going to be tempted to pack a lot of things that you don't need. So be smart, think about the details of your trip and what you're going to need. Pack just those things and avoid overloading yourself. Last is stay safe on the trail. Make sure to follow any local regulations and obey any signs or warnings that are posted. You're probably going to want to carry a map and compass and learn how to use them. It's also a good idea to tell someone at home your itinerary and check in with them periodically. Last but not least, bring plenty of food and water, and always be prepared for changes in the weather. With those steps, you should be able to plan a very successful first backpacking trip. I wish you all the best. I hope you have a great time in the backcountry. If you got value out of this video, please click that thumbs up button, and hey, let's do this again sometime.